We're joined by Tony Mangieri. He's the owner of Una Pizza Napoletana, which is a beloved and well-known pizza restaurant in New York City's Lower East Side. And actually, Tony just opened a new pizzeria in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. And for those who haven't listened to our podcast with Tony, maybe just Tony, a quick description of Una Pizza.
Sure. Thank you. Una Pizza Napoletana is a wood-fired Neapolitan-style, naturally leavened dough pizzeria. Our focus is on the pizza. We have a very streamlined menu and operation, and we've been in business since 1996. Yeah, we now have two locations, and we've went from New Jersey to New York City to California, back to New York, and now one in New Jersey where we started again. So we've had a couple versions and locations of the same restaurant over the years.
Yeah, and for those of you who want the full down on the history, you can listen to our podcast on GrowWire. I want to talk about the current state of the world that we're in, and the impact it's having on your business and on the restaurant business in general. So let's start here. When it first became clear that restaurants were going to have to shut down as places to dine in, and Una Pizza is, I think New York Times called the best sit-down pizza joint in all 5 boroughs. So definitely a dine-in kind of place. What were the first thoughts that went through your mind?
Yeah, well, I mean, at first, I was debating whether or not to shut down. I mean, I think I could have stayed a couple more days. I made the decision on a Sunday night, and then during the course of that week, starting on Monday, is when things really started going, where they were shutting down. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough road for a lot of the restaurants. For us, we definitely are a sit-down restaurant. The one in the Lower East Side, especially, just the way it's built, the way it's set up. Even when we're open, running normal business, we just don't have a to-go business. We never have. I don't think people even associate that location with to-go. And the neighborhood itself down there is a pretty quiet area as far as residential. So in a situation like this, I thought to myself, what's the options here? I mean, to go in there and go through all the motions of like making the dough every day and firing the oven up and getting some people to come in, I just quickly made the decision that the only option was to close. And also, I already got a sense the week before from some of the people that work for me that they did not really want to be out and about. And this was before the shutdown even happened. So that also played into my decision making, that I didn't want to be the guy that is forcing people to go out in this situation even before they said you had to do it. And now it's not an option really, unless you were to do to go only.
Do you only shut? I think you only shut the New York location down, not the New Jersey one, or
Right. So I was trying to figure out what to do with both locations, and the New Jersey location, it's in a small town. It's got kind of a captive audience, and coincidentally, it has, and I didn't put these in, but it has these 2 enormous windows on either side of the entrance that open all the way up and create basically this counter. And it looks like we made it for this thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. These windows are on a hydraulic, and I can just open one up. It's totally safe. No one can come into the restaurant. Everyone can keep their distance. And we've been really blessed. I mean, the people down there are really pumped on us doing this and being there and having a place for people to go pick something up to bring home and eat. And we've been relatively busy. More importantly, people are just pumped on it. And the cool thing with that spot is that I can easily do it down there by myself. So I'm basically doing it with myself and my friend that I opened it with, and one other person that lives locally that's coming in and just handing the pizzas to the customers, and that's pretty much it. So we're doing it bare bones. I'm sleeping on floors at night to be able to do this. It's like,
Wow. Wow. Well, that's fantastic. So in New York, in the New York City location, what has been, what have you heard from customers? They're like, please open the, you know, let us do takeout, something. I mean, what's the response been?
a little bit. I mean, honestly, not much. I think most people in New York, especially right now in the last like week or so or a couple days, it's really gotten where I don't think most people are going out. I mean, it's pretty locked down here. I don't think it's really in anybody's head to go down the Lower East Side and get takeout. Like I said, I mean, that neighborhood is just not, unfortunately, residentially dense. So I don't really think most of our customer base for that restaurant even lives in that neighborhood. So I don't think the people that would normally be concerned about coming in are thinking that they could get a pizza to go anyway, unless we started doing like citywide delivery. And that's like just another dynamic that our restaurant isn't really equipped to handle. And honestly, I know this might sound silly in this time of like, crisis, but I'm also still concerned about the quality of the pizza. And, even in New Jersey at that location, I've been kind of stressing just on my own little tiny bubble of a world that I live in that like a lot of these people are getting the pizza for their first time ever to go. And we're busy and the pizzas are sitting before they pick them up or whatever, they're driving with them. And I'm like, God, man, I'm like, I hope this doesn't become people's interpretation of the pizza for their first time ever to eat it like this. And they don't know really where it can go. And I'm thinking bigger picture of like, I don't want to ruin, what our quality is just to get through this little moment in history. So that being said, I'm even monitoring like how far we can go with the New Jersey spot because I just want to maintain our standard even in this moment,
Well,
even if that sounds silly.
it doesn't. I mean, there are a million pizza joints, and you don't want to just be lumped in with them because you can do takeout.
Yeah, and I mean, at a certain point, like if you're banging them out and they're sitting around, you're kind of defeating what we've built, 25 years of a reputation on. So it's a fine line. We'll see where it lands with the New Jersey spot. But people down there have been really beautiful on supporting it.
I was listening to a podcast with the owner of Missy and Lilia, and they were talking
Yes.
about Missy Robbins. If you even spend more than 30 seconds taking a picture of your pasta, she comes out and yells at you because the food starts to, not be as good. So I can
Right.
imagine that, that's a big concern when we're talking about high quality food.
Yeah. I mean, the more you put into it, it's for real. So you really care, and you just want people to experience your life's work in what you're presenting. So, at the same time, I mean, for me personally, like it's also about financial survival. So, hence, I'm I'm making all the pizzas and all the dough myself, and like I said, sleeping on my friend's floor a couple nights a week so I can do it. My family's up in the city without me, and I'm doing what I got to do to survive this. So we'll see how far that can go.
Yeah, and what I want to know in the New Jersey location is, did you have to build anything like an e-commerce part of your site so that people
Right,
order, or was that already there?
right. No, it wasn't. So that again is another whole new business model. I think for myself and many restaurants that are even, I would say, tend towards being classified almost as fine dining. I mean, I know personally quite a few chefs slash owners that have decided to try to go that route also in fine dining, where they're doing to go with fine dining, where they've never even allowed takeout. I mean, so I think many of us are scrambling to find some kind of way to get through this. I mean, especially if they're saying that, the shutdown might go until mid-May, June. I mean, you're talking about, for myself, many of these other independent guys, like there's no salary then, like there's no income. It's that simple. It's literally like the day I close New York, that's the day I cannot get paid. So I have to figure out a way to squeeze something out, and I mean, makes you tough. I guess. But you know, I'm willing to do whatever I got to do to get by. That is the Neapolitan in me, I think. um,
Well,
but
let's
yeah, I did have to add a new platform to the business. And again, like many of these companies that offer these platforms are being bombarded right now, and it's, you know, really, really busy. So you have to do your due diligence and find out which one's going to offer you the best setup, the best rates, you know, the most streamlined depositing your money, and and for me too personally, also companies that I don't need to sign a long-term contract with, because I don't want to necessarily be locked into this kind of a platform where I'm going to do online ordering and this and that, all these other things that I normally wouldn't do, and I don't plan to do once we get back to normal. Um,
sure. Let's talk. Let's go down the business route a little bit more. So you closed the New York City one. How do you, when you think about, your survival, now we're almost in April as we record this. Um, do you think in terms of I need to survive April, or do you think in terms of I need to survive the next 3 months or 6 months? And how do you, what are the things that you start to think about in terms of cash flow and what you can, costs that you can mitigate, put off, and so on?
yeah. Well, I mean, firstly, most restaurants already kind of do that on a day-to-day. The restaurant business is a very small margin business. Um, so anyone that's doing this for real and does this for a living, and it's not a side project, already kind of has their head in this mode on already a normal day-to-day existence of like what can be paid, what can't be paid, which vendors let things slide longer than 30 days, which ones are really tough, which ones are going to cut you out if you don't pay on time. And it's sadly the case for most restaurants, unless you're a super big corporate restaurant. So most independent restaurants, I think, already operate like that in normal times. So this is just taking that into full. Um, and for me, like, you know, luckily I've always been involved in the cooking and the baking and the hands-on operation, even when the place is at its best in the Lower East Side. So it's easy for me to quickly readapt back into being like, all right, I'm making all the dough, I'm making all the pizza. Right there, I'm cutting out, you know, a lot of expense, and I'm able to keep some kind of cash flow going by just really running super lean. I mean, if need be, I could literally go down and run the restaurant completely solo if I have online ordering, you know, where it's like literally the orders are coming in online and I'm getting them on my tablet and I'm seeing them, I'm making them, and I'm bringing them over to the window, you know, if need be, I can do that. I think it's a benefit of always staying pretty deeply entrenched in the day-to-day of the restaurant. So yeah, I don't know if that totally answers the question, but
Yeah, no, it does. But I'm also wondering, so like your New York City place is closed, and certainly
right,
you're not ordering inventory for it. But are
right,
you in New York City? My understanding is that the cost of space is a much higher percentage of your overall cost than almost than anywhere in the country by several
right.
percentage points. So
Yeah,
are are your lease holders being flexible? What kinds of things are you thinking about there?
right. Yeah. So, well, first off, like New York City in general, I think is a city where the majority of all of us are living on the edge of disaster on a week to week basis to begin with. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? Rents are too high commercially and residentially. The majority of people that live here aren't making the kind of income that justifies them even living here. Um, and so something like this occurs, which is almost like I would say like an act of God in a sense, where it's like out of your hands. I think, many people in New York City are going to be pretty close to disaster, if not already within a week of this happening last week. Um, that being said, like, I think Self, I mean, and many other people with these small restaurants, I just think like pretty much most restaurants are just like in New York City are kind of like, we're not paying any bills. That's it. Like tough. I mean, that's kind of been my approach to certain things in New York. Like, if the government's telling me that I be open to make money, then I'm telling you, I'm not paying my rent. And that's pretty much been my very unprofessional approach to this situation. I don't know how long that will last, but I mean, I think any wise landlord of a commercial space is going to also realize that, you have two options in this situation. You can either say, all right, I want my rent or I'm throwing you out, or you're going to have to suffer like the rest of us, considering 90% of the landlords are overcharging everybody anyway and don't really handle things the way I think it should be handled to begin. Maybe this will actually be a reset button for a lot of things, in New York City and the rest of the country, hopefully. I mean, I just think like, a lot of landlords in New York City, from my impression over the years, just raise these prices up on commercial space so that they can keep remortgaging their buildings because they can show what the potential is to generate on a space, even if it's based on absolutely nothing. And if it just kind of becomes across the board approach, you end up with, rents that are 2 and 3 times personally what I think they should be in a commercial space. And sadly, that also leads to not being able to run cool restaurants and be able to make like the kind of food and present the kind of things you want, because you go in and you're under so much pressure and you're under such a gun with the rent that like it becomes like sink or swim pretty much before you even open the doors to start with. So I think that's where most of us are probably at. I don't know for everybody, but I know myself and other people that I know personally, I would say we're kind of like, I ran my payroll in New York City. So everybody got paid for the days they worked. And I paid a few things that were, necessary. And then at that point I was like, all right, there's no money coming in. The business is closed. We're essentially out of business, but we still have a location.
To come back to. Yeah,
Scary.
it is scary. But from I imagine too, what are they going to put in these spaces? So they're smart if they just kind of work with you. I wonder too, there are a lot of relief efforts going on, and many of them focused on the restaurant industry. I know James Beard Foundation has a relief fund. There's the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. The Restaurant Association is working on some things as well. So there's things for people like you, restaurateurs. There are things for your workers. Are you looking at any of those, and what seems promising in that regard?
Yeah, I've been looking at some. I'm not sure really. I'm not informed enough to know which one I would say to follow and to chase down. Um, from what I can see so far, most of them are, and I don't want to say this in a negative way, but I don't know really what they're going to really end up doing at this point. I still don't know what's true, what isn't. Things are still kind of up in the air. One place will tell you there's this, but then another source is saying there's that. And I don't know, and I don't want to actually put my mind and heart in the thought that like there's going to be this bailout that's going to save the day for me personally. It's just not my nature. I never built my life on that, so I'm not going to start now in a time of a so-called crisis. It's just not my way of operating. I mean, at the same time, I mean, if there's something that becomes legitimately available to make it be where the restaurant could be in a safe place, then I would do that. But so far what I'm seeing is like bits and pieces of things, nothing really concrete, nothing for sure. And so I don't want to say one way or the other. For right now, I only know what I can do for myself and what I can make sure is actually for real, which is, doing whatever you got to do to pay your personal bills and survive to some degree.
Sure. Has anything changed with your suppliers? I mean, you have a very distinct and carefully crafted network of suppliers. Are they doing okay? Are you getting the inventory you need to make the pizzas the way you like to?
Yeah, so no, I mean, I would say the smaller guys that I deal with are kind of not working right now. Also, the buffalo mozzarella, which is somewhat essential to the pizza, is not available. Um, Luckily, on the flour side of things, I have quite a bit of a back stock, and I have people that have it in if I need it. Um, but no, I mean, again, even that, it's like becoming like not exactly what you would want. I mean, I have enough backup that I can get through, but it's going to run lean. I've actually been in a little bit of a scramble even with that, trying to find a few other sources that, like, I can go to their warehouse and get some stuff individually like that, as opposed to expecting anyone to deliver.
And in terms of dealing with, I mean, everybody's having to do this right now, but you've obviously had to let go the people in the New York City location, and
Yeah.
you're down to a lean staff of just you and your partner basically in New Jersey. What advice do you have for people in kind of managing through that situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, regarding like letting people go, I mean, that's really the thing that I think is the saddest of this whole situation is, like, I have people in the New York location, like, that I really care about and that have been with me and been loyal. And, there's goes beyond just like a day-to-day work kind of environment, because it is a small business. And I'm always there. So it's more personal. Um, you know, I've been in communication with them. Um, Again, I don't know, what small people like me can really do. I mean, you know, I know some people are trying to create like this virtual tip jar and all these kind of things, but I mean, the numbers on those things, from what I hear from people that are doing them, is so small. Like, it's like, you're doing it, you're generating like, $200, and you're going to divide that up between like, 15 people. It's not worth even going through that or putting yourself out like that. And also, for me personally, again, like, I think it's also my own personality might be my worst hindrance on some of these things, because I'm just not somebody who's going to be like going out and being like, come and help me and help us. It's just not my way. It's like, I'm more of an independent kind of a person. So that being said, I'm kind of just trying to do what I got to do. But I do wish that there was a way for, my pizza guys to be making pizza and be with me. It hurts me a lot that they're not, you know. But I mean, I hope this thing somehow works itself out. And I think what's going to be tough on the back end of this whole scenario is that, and not only for me but for all these restaurants, is that when this thing ends, and let's say it ends tomorrow, it's not going to be so easy to just be like, okay, tomorrow we can go back to real life. We're going to reopen. It's like, well, based on what? It's like, the guy that I've been teaching to make dough is like in Ecuador right now and didn't come back. You know what I mean? Like, it's like my pizza guys might be like, you know what, we're moving back home. One's from California, one's from Colorado. Like, it's going to be, there's more to it than just getting through this and going back to work. There's going to be like all the repercussions after this ends, and trying to rebuild. It's almost going to be like starting, in some ways, for a lot of people, almost starting a whole new business, and especially depending on how long this thing lasts. If it goes until May, June, July, whenever, I mean, people might start making some life decisions when they come out the other end of this that are going to change, your workforce. And if they do, honestly, good for them. I'm not stopping them, because I would like to make some myself, not for nothing.
No, I hear you. Maybe one last thing, and we're talking to a lot of businesses that are, having to kind of out of necessity try new things. And some of them are like, wow, we may keep doing this once, you know, everything comes back to normal. Is there anything you're finding in that regard yet?
Yeah, that's funny you would say, because um, on a personal level, kind of one of my dreams my whole life has been to have the pizzeria be basically like a little freestanding building by itself with a parking lot. I mean, small, like you come up and it's like a window, you don't even come in. and you just like look in, and it's almost like those like California taquerias, and it's like you're at the counter, you can see the oven, there's like a fridge with drinks in it, like wine by the box, and all you have is like picnic tables with umbrellas outside. And man, I got to tell you, like when we're down there in New Jersey and I have the window open and nobody's coming in and there's no table service, I mean, obviously we don't make the same kind of money as you do when people sit down and buy a bottle of wine and all that, but it's like, boy, I like it. And it kind of has made me feel like definitely that thought that I always had since I was a kid of having a spot like that. This has like kind of recircled that in my head. So maybe one day that'll come to fruition based on this experience that I'm going through. But other than that, for me and for Una Pizza, I would say no. I mean, like I said earlier, these platforms that I'm using and am adding more, this, in the coming weeks, as far as total online ordering and contactless ordering and all this kind of stuff, it's just not the way I do business. It's not what I like. It's not like the way that I like to do business. I prefer having humans come in and interact with them and deal with them on a face-to-face basis and have them call up and all this stuff. But, again, like myself, many of these smaller guys are doing whatever we got to do right now to survive. And hopefully we can get through it and reopen and have a place to have people come back to.
I hope so too, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you.